In the professional world, there are so many discussions going on about the new labor codes. Though my channel is specifically for the tax staffs, I felt it is important to share with you some key changes about the new labor codes. Especially there is so much noise, confusion which requires little clarity. So this video might be helpful and will clear some of the aspects of the new key changes about the labor code. The Government of India has made effective the 4 labor codes starting from 21st November 2025. These codes will replace 29 existing central labor laws and are applicable across the country. While the codes are now in effective nationwide, the supporting rules under state and central jurisdiction are still yet to be notified. In this video, I will explain definition of worker, minimum wages, and why this is important. The third one is the definition of wages, including the 50% rule, and the fourth one, how this rule works in practice with some examples. Under new labor code, a worker means a person who is employed to perform all the listed work for hire or reward in any industry or establishment. A person will not fall within the definition of worker if they are employed mainly in a management and administrative capacity or the supervisory staff earning over 18,000 per month unless notified otherwise. So it's a functional test. The only based on the job title, you cannot segregate. It could be based on the nature of duties, whether clerical, manual, etc. Again, the salary alone cannot make someone as a worker. Like highly paid supervisory role can be qualified as a worker if his duties fit in the definition. So in summary, employer is a broader category where it includes the managerial and supervisory roles, whereas the worker is a narrower category focused on non-managerial roles like operational, technical, clerical, manual, skilled, unskilled, etc. Now coming to the minimum wages. Under the new labor codes, there is no universal minimum wages amount set for all the workers nationwide. The central government sets a national floor wage and all the state must fix their minimum wages above that floor based on the skill level, nature of duties and the region. So what is the change here? So earlier the coverage was not universal. Minimum wages is applicable only to the scheduled payments. And what is scheduled payments? Scheduled payments, these were the employments which are listed in the schedule of the Minimum Wages Act 1948. If an employment is not listed in that schedule, then the employer is not legally bound to follow the minimum wages. So now all the organized and unorganized sector are bound to follow the minimum wages rule, and they need to pay the minimum wages which will be set by the central and state and required to pay the minimum wages based on that. Now let's understand the definition of wages. So we are hearing inclusion and exclusion a lot more when we are hearing the word wages, right? So what is inclusion and exclusion? So inclusion means when you will be calculating the wages as per the new labor code, it will include the basic, DA, dearness allowance and retaining allowance if any. All other allowances will be considered under the exclusion category. That means overtime wages, specific allowance, travel allowance, employer's contribution to the PF, overtime wages, everything should be considered under the exclusion. Now, where it is required, like inclusion and exclusion, so it is required under the while calculating the 50% rule. So what is the 50% rule? Under the new labor codes, at least 50% of the total remuneration must be treated as wages. That means basic plus DA plus retaining allowances must be minimum 50% of total pay. The 50% rule means you can no longer hide your salary in allowances. At least half of your total remuneration must count for bonus and gratuity. So now the question is, what if the included components basic plus DA plus RA is less than 50% of the total pay? So if your basic plus DA including RA is less than half of your total salary, then the extra allowances will be added back to your wages for the calculation of the statutory benefits. So many employers keep the basic low and paid a large portion as an allowance, which reduce the gratuity, bonus payments, etc. So the 50% rule ensure that half of your total remuneration will be treated as a total wages and the gratuity bonus will be calculated based on that. A quick glimpse of where 50% rule apply. Please take a note that PF and ESI this 50% rule is not applicable. Let's take a quick look at a side-by-side comparison between the earlier law and the new labor code for gratuity. Previously, the term salary was used for calculation. Under the new code, the term wages is used, which has a broader definition. Both laws include basic plus DA plus RA for gratuity calculation. The main difference is in allowance cap. Earlier, there was no cap on allowance. Employers could structure salaries with high allowance and a low basic. Under the new labor code, there is a 50% cap, which means allowance cannot exceed 50% of total remuneration. If they do, the excess is added back to the wages for statutory benefits, as we discussed in the previous slide. So as a result, gratuity amounts are generally higher under the new labor code since the definition of wages is broader and less subject to manipulation. So the new labor code brings more transparency and fairness to how gratuity is calculated, protecting the employee's interest and ensuring statutory benefits are not diluted by the salary structuring. Let's look at this example. Mr. A's total monthly salary is 45,000. Out of this, HRA and conveyance allowance add up to 13,000. The law says excluded allowance should not be more than 50% of the total pay, correct? In this case, 50% is 22,500 and the actual exclusion are only 13,000. So we are within the limit. That means for statutory benefits like gratuity, Mr. A's wages will be 45,000 minus 13,000, which is the exclusion, which coming to 32,000. Since the exclusions, which is 13,000, are below the cap, there is no need to add anything back. So the takeaway is what? If your allowances are less than half of your total salary, just subtract them to get your wages for the benefits. If they are more, then extra gets added back in. Look at this another example. This time Mr. B's salary, the total monthly pay is 50,000. Out of this, HRA, conveyance and special allowances, which are under the exclusion, together add up to 28,000. Now, what labor code says that the allowance cannot be more than 50% of the total pay. Here, 50% of 50,000 is 25,000, but the actual allowance are 28,000. So they are over the limit by 3,000. What happens now? The extra 3,000 above the cap gets added back to the wages for statutory benefits. So for the labor code purpose, Mr. AB's wages will be 50,000 minus 25,000, which is 25,000. So basically, if the excluded components exceed 50% of your total remuneration, then that excess will be added back to the wages. The new definition of wages is very crucial as it prevents the employers from shifting the large portion of salary into allowances. So the new law ensures that a fair and a meaningful portion of the salary is counted for the social security benefits. For employers, this may increase the gratuity bonus cost. While this costs are tax deductible based on the condition given in the Income Tax Act, however, this may lead to the higher payroll cost and potential margin impact. Hence, the salary structure is required to be revisited. The organization should therefore undertake a holistic overview across HR, finance, legal, payroll, supported by the impact modeling and the policy update to ensure the readiness under the new labor law framework. For employee, a slightly lower take-home salary today, but a higher gratuity, bonus and long-term financial security tomorrow. This is nothing but a short-term cash optimization to a long-term employee security. I have covered just few aspects about the new labor law. If there are any confusion in any area, just send me the comments. I can look at this and will reply back. Thanks for watching.